And we are live. I appreciate you guys coming. I was actually hoping to speak with Moore's Wolf first, if I can get him unmuted. Are you there, Moore's Wolf? Coming.
Yep.
So how's it going? We haven't spoken on on the podcast, have we?
No, we haven't.
So tell me, what religion were you originally? Are you still religious?
No. I used to be religious. I used to be a Christian.
Okay. So what kind of changed your mind, and what denomination were you?
It was mostly like non-denominational.
Okay.
I was mostly just in it because my parents were, and what turned me away was mostly just looking on the internet and finding like YouTube atheism and skepticism.
Sure, interesting. So how long have you been out?
Um, Probably about 2 to 3 years around that time.
All right. So how old are you now? Are you still like with your parents, or are you on the outside now?
I'm 15, and my
Okay.
parents like let me stay home from church, but they still try to push it, and they're still praying for me to turn back.
Okay. So did you have to deal with many like social consequences as a result of not really believing it anymore, or they pretty relaxed about it mostly, or did you lose friends or anything like that?
Um, I lost like some acquaintances and somewhat friendships at the church. And my parents were like a bit, uh, they weren't really accepting of it at first, but over time they just grew to be okay with it.
All right. Well, at least they're kind of coming around a little bit now. Do you have any kind of like crazy stories or anything that you want to tell about coming out or anything?
Uh, Not really. I have somewhat of a question though.
Sure.
It's somewhat related, and it's a tiny bit long-winded.
No, that's
To
fine. Go ahead.
to what degree should I respect others' opinions? Like I recognize that my opinions on subjects like politics are very malleable. At my age, I want to be open-minded but not too easily convinced. But if I resist too much, I think that may lead me to arrogance.
Mm,
It's usually on topics where the less factual arguments trump the main stage of discourse, and the facts are shrouded in obscurity or not known yet, or just topics that I'm not too interested to take an in-depth dive into. But
sure.
like I just try to get a few takes on it from different people.
Okay. Interesting question. Have you by chance ever seen the Atheist Experience before, the TV show
Yeah,
or the YouTube show?
quite a
Okay.
few.
They talk about like logic, logical fallacies, and evidence and things like that a lot. That's basically where I learned everything that I know about logic and fallacies and things. And I would say you should approach everything from that perspective. Like, even just evolution and flat earth and the Big Bang and religion and everything. Just look at it with a skeptical eye and see if you can pick out logical fallacies in it and things. If there isn't evidence for this stuff or sufficient evidence, then don't accept it. I know that religion is all about humility and, just be humble. Constantly they're saying that. But I don't buy what they're selling about humility being just the end all be all. The meek shall inherit the earth. I don't buy it. You know? I mean, you don't need to be an asshole. You don't need to be arrogant, but
Hmm.
just don't be afraid to question things. Don't be afraid to doubt things like that, because that's what religion really wants to instill in people is doubt. So, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But anyway, yeah, that would be my advice on it. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me.
of course.
All right, we'll talk again.
Yeah.
Also, I want to mention at the end of this that I am currently responding to all DMs. I've mentioned this in my other podcasts also. I respond to all DMs at the moment. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do that. Just depends on how many I get. But if you want to DM me, like if I can't get around to talking to you because there just isn't enough time or something, just send me a message on Discord. I will be here. And as long as I have the time, I will respond to all of them. So, okay, now the next person I wanted to talk to, I've actually spoken with this person before, but I don't think I've had them on the podcast. You know, maybe I have. Maybe I did last time. But anyway, let's talk to him. Doom from 907, you there?
No, I am absent.
Oh, shoot. So,
Hey, how's it going, Telltale?
not too bad. Did I talk to you last time? I feel like I did. No? No?
We've talked, but
Okay.
I sent you those bird pictures. You know what I'm
Okay, right. Okay, and speaking of bird pictures, actually, while we're on the subject, let me just...
Post that. It's funny. It's funny to look at.
I have another bird picture. Do you want to send me the other one in voice 4 real quick, and I can put that on the screen?
The photo
if
bird.
you want to. Hang on, I have another picture that I wanted to show, and then we'll get to other things. So,
Okay.
I discovered this this bird's nest in a Christmas wreath that I really should have taken down like 3 months ago, just never did. But I discovered this bird's nest next to my door, right? And so every time I walk out my door, that freaking bird scares me. Just flies out in front of my face to escape my grip or something, right? So I go check this out, and I look in the nest, and I see 5 eggs. And one
oh my
of
God,
the
that's adorable.
yeah, well, and 5 is like a really high number. Like birds don't usually lay 5. They'll lay like 3 or 4, sometimes even 2, right? So I look a little bit closer and I notice that one of the eggs is brown. It's spotted with brown spots on it. I'm like, that's interesting. So I take another look at it, and it turns out what it is, it's a cuckoo egg. And
Oh yeah, those things.
yeah, I don't know if you know about the cuckoos or if the others do, but they're basically what's called brood parasites, and the cuckoos will lay an egg in a foreign bird's nest, and when it hatches, it has a shorter period of time before it hatches than most birds. So it hatches before just about any other bird egg. And when it hatches, it will push the other eggs out of the nest so that the bird is kind of forced to take care of it. And so anyway, I got some pictures here for the live stream.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oops, wrong thing. Hang on. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, so this is one picture. Weird alien
cute.
looking thing, right? It's like super
Yeah.
ugly, but it's so cool. Like, it's really, really cool, I think. See that thing? Jesus. This is a really good close up of it. Anyway, I'm sorry. So, yeah, like I said,
It's fine, man.
I've talked to you before, but I don't think I've talked to you on the podcast. So tell me
No.
about yourself. Like, what religion were you originally? Are you still religious?
Well, I call myself a foreman. Former Mormon.
Oh, yeah, okay. Interesting. So, how long have you been on the outside?
About 4 years going on now.
Did you have to deal with any kind of like serious social consequences?
After
with it?
I lost a couple friends.
Mm.
The community kind of looked at me funny from now on, but
Yeah.
and my grandparents were yelling at me for a while. But other than that, things have mellowed out.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad they've mellowed out a lot for you. Do you have any kind of like crazy stories or anything about it, about being Mormon?
On the inside, the 3-hour-long sessions, just boredom, and
Yeah.
like it was just weird.
For sure.
Everything they practiced,
So,
and like we believed you inhabit planet when you die if you're good. You know, it's like weird.
yeah, for sure. So, where did you go for your mission? Did you do a mission or did you avoid it
No,
successfully?
I was too young to do a mission, so I didn't do it.
Good. I'm glad to hear you escaped that. It's basically like just like a
It's
2-year
it's
brainwashing
enslavement.
session. Yeah.
You know, I do actually have a quick story if we have time.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay, so there's a huge ass windstorm last week, okay, up here. Like it's classified as hurricane because of 80-mile-an-hour winds, okay?
Yeah.
So I went to my neighbor who has this big golden retriever, and I was like, "Hey, you leave him outside. I'll take him in, and he can hang out with us, hunker down, you know."
Yeah.
And so he's now attached to me, and I was talking to another server I'm on. You know how we've had a lot of Christian philosophies people from that server come in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was joining them and debating philosophy, and they're like, "You know, God sent that dog to you."
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I fail to see the connection.
Oh my God. They see, this is what they do. They thank God for the good things. They call it blessings, and then they blame their lack of faith for the bad things. That kind of thing. It's kind of their MO, you know.
It's a very depressing outlook, you know.
It is. Yeah. I really don't like the debate format, but it's just like I don't feel like much progress is made. And Infinity's Bane, she's the one helping me with the podcast, but she pointed out that the real progress that's made is forming out your own views more clearly, right?
Right.
Like you have to, people present problems to you, and on the spot you'll try to come up with a solution to that problem, and it makes you think about it afterward. But that's really the core of my issue with debate, is you have to come up with it right then and there on the spot, even if what you're about to say is wrong, you know.
Unless, like, I've participated in debate club at school, so.
Right.
Oh, and I'm graduating. Somehow, my stupid ass crossed the finish line.
Oh, very nice. Are you going to college? You are, right?
Yeah, I'm seeking a higher education.
Good. I'm glad to hear
Anyway,
that.
and yeah,
All
pretty
right.
chill up here. Other than that, I forgot something. You ever have that? Like, you know, you want to say something.
Yes, that happens to me all the time. I can't stand it. But
like, fuck.
Yeah, it happens. It's no big thing. I can have you on again sometime if you remember.
Yeah,
just send me a
I
DM
remember
or
it now.
something. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think do you think that we should go to the Amish communes and start introducing them to technology? So maybe we can get those kids out so they don't keep dying of preventable illnesses.
It's an interesting idea. I was actually talking to Paulogia, I think, which, if you guys don't know him, I shouted him out in that last video I released, and he's a really good YouTuber. He's an ex-Mennonite and stuff, and he basically said that the Amish, they can use technology, but they have to get permission from the elders in their congregation to use it. It's like I don't know, like a 10-day permission slip to use a car or something like that.
That's an obvious cult.
I
Why
know.
can't we do anything?
I know. It definitely
it's
is.
just frustrating to watch kids die, and
I know.
like, I don't get why people practice faith healing. If it didn't work for your other kid, why is it going to work this time?
Yeah, I
Just take him to a doctor.
Agree. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes they will, like, sometimes, from my understanding, the Amish will go to just like an outside world doctor, but not often. It's rare, and they have to talk to the elders about that too, and all kinds of stuff. So it's poison. I just hope we can pull as many people out as possible, you know?
Yeah, and I think that since the invention of the internet and its widespread, that it might be destroying it, you know? Like, the numbers in the Mormon church are starting to go down.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. I totally agree.
And I like to think he had something to do with it.
Well, I appreciate that. I know I get messages a lot from people saying I pulled them out and things, but ultimately,
you actually did. You know, I saw your videos when I was starting to down, along with
right.
I saw your videos, Cult of Dusty, a lot of other atheists.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I watched Cult of Dusty too.
I started thinking, I was like, that makes sense. Stop messing with my head, please.
Yes. See, that's the thing about it, is that a lot of the time people, they have to get themselves to the point where they are willing to just view material like that in the first place. So they have to take the first steps. But once they take those steps, I want to make sure that there is a community of YouTubers out there who will be there and point out logical fallacies and talk to them and things, you know. So that's my
Right.
role in the whole thing. But
Yeah, it's just a little frustrating because, like I said, my family's still religious and their young Earth creation, evolution is just a hoax, all that shit.
that's
And
rough.
yeah, I keep trying to explain. Like my grandpa believes that man comes from a monkey. That's what atheists and evolutionists. I was
Okay.
like, no, we're cousins.
Yeah.
Like I try to explain, but he doesn't want to listen.
Yeah, I explained it to my mom one time, and actually, I'm gonna mention this after we get off here. I'm gonna move on to another person. I appreciate you talking to me, though. Okay.
Hey, it's fine. I understand.
Okay, I'll talk to you next time, maybe.
See you next time, man.
Well, like I was saying, I was talking to my mom about this, and yeah, I explained evolution to her too. Of course, she's like extremist Jehovah's Witness, and she has never accepted evolution. I didn't accept it till I was way older, but I explained it to her, like how it works and how we know that it works and how we know it's real and all that stuff, you know. And I went through the whole thing: mutation and gene duplication and natural selection, artificial selection, the whole thing. And I was driving in a car with her. She was trapped. She could not escape. So I went through the whole thing, and she seemed to be like, well, yeah, I mean, if that's how it actually works, like you're telling me, I have no problem accepting that. I mean, that makes complete sense. And I was like, okay, well, good. I'm glad I kind of got somewhere with you. But just later that day, she said the same thing as she had before. Just how did we come from monkeys, kind of thing, you know? And it's just, it's like you feel like you're making progress with them, but it's just completely undone by their brainwashing all over again. So it just kills me. But we'll get there slowly but surely. We will get there. So anyway, I wanted to speak with the Snow Dog. You there, the Snow Dog? We haven't talked on here, have we?
No, I don't believe so.
Didn't think so. So, what religion were you originally? You still religious?
I was an ex-Roman Catholic.
Ex-Roman Catholic. Interesting. So, how long have you been on the outside? A while?
I think it's been about a year now.
Okay. Do you feel like you had to face like any kind of social consequences? You lose any friends or anything by leaving, or?
I still live in my house, and it's been a year now, but I've been too afraid to tell my mother that
Oh,
I'm on the
interesting.
outside.
Okay. So you're still in the closet about it then?
She's always been really persistent about that stuff. She was a nun before she had me.
Wow. Jeez. That's intense. So yeah, I don't really know how being a nun works exactly. I guess she left the nunnery. Is that what it is? Nunnery? Question mark.
I think that's what I know. It's called a monastery for priests, but
Okay.
I'd assume it's called something like that.
So she ended up leaving the monastery, and I guess she got married to your dad or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Is your dad pretty religious?
He grew up poor, and his family never really introduced him to it. I don't
Okay.
think they were at all. But once he married my mom, she was really persistent about it, and as of right now, he still is.
Okay, interesting. So you've been kind of on the outside for a year, but you're still technically in the closet, right?
hmm
So what is it like going through that? Do you have any kind of crazy experiences with it or anything?
It's kind of hard because like my mom's always been persistent, like church every Sunday, and
Yeah.
she sent me to multiple religious camps and
Religious
they,
scams,
they
you say?
camps.
Oh,
Yeah.
camps. Gotcha.
Oh. And it's kind of been hard because I want to say something, but I know how dedicated like my entire family is,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if I should just wait till I'm out of the house. I know she'll get really upset. I'm not like she can act like really like for the most part. She's just a completely normal person, but whenever we're on the topic of religion, she just acts very irrationally.
Yeah. That's interesting. So how long do you think you have roughly until you can kind of get on the outside?
I figured the closest that I could like be safe without having to face or getting too upset would be once I move out.
Yeah.
But I'm a freshman, so that's like still 3 years.
Yeah, that's going to be rough. But I say this to others too. Something to keep in mind is if you are stuck on the inside like that, you're going to just lose your shit if you don't have some kind of an outlet. So pour yourself into a community of people who are going through the same thing. I mean, there are people on this Discord, for example, who are going through the same thing right now. So just see if you can talk to some of them and make some friends. And some friends in real life, too, would be ideal, who are on the outside. You know, because when everything goes down, you don't want to be left out in the cold, just in case.
Mm-hmm. I've talked to some people on the outside. I have a friend who was an ex Jehovah's Witness. She's talked to me about it.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Yeah, they're not on here, are they? That would have been pretty cool.
No, I don't think. Yeah, they're not in this Discord.
Oh, well, okay. Anyway, well, I appreciate you talking to me, and hopefully it's a smooth transition out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure talking to you too.
I wanted to talk to Ham Wham next. Ham Wham. Unmute. Hey.
Oh, hello there, sir.
We haven't talked, right?
No, we have not talked.
Okay, so tell me, what religion were you originally? Are you still religious, or?
So I am still currently Mormon, so that's something, I guess. That's a little different.
Do you still believe it?
Yeah, a little all over the place, you know.
Okay.
I consider myself more of a man of science than a man of religion.
Okay.
And I understand like why people would cling to religion, but I'm kind of just like,
Not a big fan, or what's your aversion to it?
I don't know. I mean, there's some people in my ward that are just kind of like super high key. Definitely, I see where like in your videos where you come from that definitely like brainwash. You know, just what are you? Why are you like this?
Sure.
But then on the other side, there's just some like cool dudes, and it's like, yeah, you're kind of cool. Wow.
Sure. Okay. Interesting. So, what is it about? All right, let me ask you this. You say you kind of still believe it, roughly, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not like super, yes, this is yes, but it's kind of like, as with all religion, you can't directly disprove or prove anything because it's all kind of just up in the air.
Sure. And
so it's just kind of like, I don't know, man.
So can you give me an example of something that you would believe in that, say, for example, I wouldn't believe in about Mormonism? Like, do you believe Joseph Smith found the plates and translated them?
Joseph Smith, he's kind of a cool dude. He's kind of a weird dude. I don't know.
Sure.
I know one fun fact: the church put no money into translating over to Dutch, and so people when missionaries are in the Netherlands. My dad served in the Netherlands. They actually talk about the first vision of Joseph Smith, which means hallucination. So they are teaching people about the first hallucination of Joseph Smith. Fun fact right there.
That is very interesting. Okay. So, did you go on a mission by chance?
No, I'm 15, and honestly, I don't plan on it because that's 2 years of my life I won't get back.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear you're not going to go on a mission because I don't know how I feel about that. Actually, I do know how I feel about that. Are you planning on going to college by chance, or?
Of course I'm planning to go to college, dude.
Good. I'm glad to hear that because Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in college education. I know it's different with Mormons a little bit, but I have to convince a lot of kids who are leaving that religion to go. So,
am I likely to end up at BYU? Yeah, but it's dirt cheap, and that's mostly why.
Oh, really? BYU?
It is a dirt cheap college for the most part.
Yeah, but do you live in Utah, or?
I lived in Utah. We moved to New Hampshire. It's a cool place up here.
I will bet anything that you could go to a college in New Hampshire cheaper than you could go to BYU, including travel expenses.
I mean, probably.
So, do you feel like BYU is still the best option, even considering the cost?
Honestly, I would try and do whatever I can to avoid BYU. I'm not a huge like, oh boy, I love BYU so
Sure.
much. It's just kind of like, at the end of the day, it's cheap, and so if I can't like get a good price somewhere else because I want to go to like a good college, I'm looking to go somewhere. I want to go places, and if I can't get a scholarship somewhere because we don't have enough money to get any kind of financial aid based
Sure.
off of, I have to get a scholarship somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and if I can't, then it's looking like it's going to be like UNH or BYU for me.
Okay. Something I want to point out is I actually work with a Mormon, and she went to BYU, and she got a bachelor's degree in music or something like that. I don't know. But when she moved to where she is now, she had to she was trying to get her master's degree, and they would not accept most of the credits that she had from BYU. They said that she had to retake the classes because this secular, regular old college I guess they didn't feel like the BYU classes she took were legit or worth anything. So when you go to a Christian university, you have to keep that in mind. Sometimes your credits won't transfer to other colleges. So if you ever want to pursue a master's degree outside of BYU, in fact, a lot of jobs won't accept a BYU degree. So just something to think about, something to keep in mind. But I'm not going to press you on it too much.
Nah, dude, that's a huge negative to BYU. You get the mark of the Mormon on your resume for the rest of your life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't agree with some of their honor code stuff. Like, if you go to BYU and you are a Mormon, you get a discount to other people. It's still cheap if you're not Mormon, but you do get a discount to the actual price.
Right.
However, if you decide while you're at BYU, I don't believe in the church anymore, they'll kick you out on honor code. And now if you try to go to another college, they're going to be like, I see you were kicked out on honor code. You doing some drugs or something, man?
Yeah,
you
it looks really bad, even if it wasn't bad at all. That's true, yeah. Something to think about when the time comes. But I appreciate you coming on and talking to me, and maybe we'll talk again sometime, okay?
Have a great day.
You too.
/night.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I do worry about that. Like, BYU is, I mean, I guess the education is okay. That's true. It is okay for the classes that aren't science-based because they deny a lot of science. So I would be worried about any science classes you would have to take. And sure, it's cheap, I guess, but travel expenses add up too. You've got to factor that into it. So anyway, pretty crazy stuff. Let's see. I'm looking for... Oh, Juanez is on here. Actually, I put Juanez at the very top of the list because I missed him last time. And then I didn't see him in when I started, but he's here now, so let me unmute. You there, Juanez?
Hi.
How's it going?
Well, I was kind of worried you'd forget me again.
Of course not. Nope. Of course not.
I know you would.
I think we've talked before, right?
Yes, on the very first time you did it.
Okay.
Actually.
I don't know if I was recording that or not. Do you remember if it was on the channel?
No, you most definitely weren't.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what then. Why don't we just start over and we'll give your story to the rest of the audience. So, were you religious originally, or?
Yeah, actually.
Tell me about it. Like, what religion was it?
I was originally, as it says on my description, I am an ex-Catholic and an atheist right now.
Okay.
Well, it's hard to explain, to be honest.
So, how do you feel about Catholicism now that you're on the outside?
It just felt stupid, to be honest.
Right. How long have you been out? Like a while, or?
Well, like fully out for about 4 years only.
Okay. And you've been questioning for longer, I guess? Is that right?
Not really. That's mostly since last month.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
actually.
tell me about it.
Mm, no, thank you.
Okay. That's
Sorry.
fine. Anything, like any kind of stories or anything you want to tell me about it? Anything you want to mention?
Not really, but I might have some interesting religion.
Okay.
Though, well, I don't really know because it all depends on what people call interesting. But the thing is, I live in a country where religion is one of the most crazy things ever.
Right. Yeah,
Well,
I assume you live in Mexico. Is that pretty close?
Lower.
Lower,
Actually.
okay. I understand that in Central America, at the very least, Catholicism is taken very seriously.
Well, it's not really because religion is taken seriously. It's just that there's a lot of stuff to deal with religion. Like, a lot.
A lot of stuff dealing with religion, you said?
Yes.
Well, you got an example?
Well, yes, actually. Because where I live, it is literally the craziest thing.
Mm.
Because many sources say that the place is 90% Catholic or Christian. I don't remember anymore. But the thing with that is it doesn't seem to be taken seriously in the slightest.
You mean religion isn't taken seriously in the slightest?
Not really. Most people here actually they take science as a pure fact.
Right.
And are mostly just not really serious. A good example is my family, except for one person there.
Okay.
We have mostly never gone to church.
Never gone to church, but you're Catholic, you said, right?
Was, actually.
Okay. Your family's Catholic. Are they still?
Well, most of them. I'm not really sure. I don't
Okay.
always ask because
Okay.
I'd like to mind my own business, to be honest. But when I say things are crazy, it's because, well,
Wait, I think I lost you. No, you there?
I myself am lost.
I'm sorry?
I'm lost myself.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
But you were telling me. Go on.
Well, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll tell you what. If you want, I can come back to you after I speak with another person. Do you want to? Want me to talk to somebody and then come back?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah,
Okay, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
And also, I would ask you to please check your DMs.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's see. So we've got.
Jeez.
Would you consider asking Telltale? Do you consider Lutheranism a cult?
Would I consider what a cult?
Lutheranism.
Wait, is it
I'm probably butchering it.
Spell it.
No, Lutheranism.
Oh, okay. Lutheranism. No, I don't think I would. I mean, I don't want to just make like a straight declaration, yes or no, about anything without heavy research, but I do know people who are Lutheran, and I don't consider them cult members. They don't have a cult-like mindset. Yeah, no, I wouldn't by default. I mean, I would be willing to be convinced, but no, probably not.
Okay. And have you learned to accept the inevitability of death? If so, how was that journey for you, especially after becoming agnostic to any sort of afterlife?
That is an interesting question. Something I haven't really talked about on my videos or anything is that I actually had to face death at one point because of a terminal illness that I ended up getting over. But as a result of that, this was back when I was like 22 or something, 21 maybe. I was still kind of ready to believe it a little bit. And I went through the 5 stages of grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I think, which are denial, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, right? And I went through all of those stages. And bargaining in that context is praying and things like that, trying to find a way out of your situation. And I did. I prayed to get better. I said, if I make it through this, I will go back to church, the Jehovah's Witness church, go back to the Kingdom Hall and believe it and the whole 9 yards. Well,
you telling me you lied in the presence of the Lord?
I did, in fact. Well, I made it through. I made it through, and I'm 100% cured now. And I just realized that it was complete garbage after that. So, anyway, yeah, that was pretty interesting. But I did look death in the face, and I was scarred from it. It's something that you don't really get over when you realize that you're mortal. It's very hard to face. But basically, my solution to that now is just not thinking about it. I just don't think about it. Anytime the idea that I'm going to die one day comes up, I just move on to a new subject in my mind, There's no way to stop it except throw yourself into science and hope that we come up with a solution to death before your day comes. So that's what I do.
Okay. And what's your opinion on Iran's government, if you know anything about it? It's very controlling and almost cult-like, in my opinion, though that could be said about most theocracies.
That's interesting. I don't know a lot about Iran's government, but what I do know is the U.S. has a history of crucifying certain countries, just putting out propaganda against them heavily. So generally anything that I hear about how good or bad any outside country is, I tone it down and understand that it's probably blown way out of proportion. Like, anytime I hear something really, really, really bad about Israel or Palestine, I understand that they have a bias, most likely. Anytime I hear anything bad about like Pakistan or Iran or any of those, I tone it down and understand it's probably due to a bias. So I really don't have an opinion on Iran's culture or government much because I just haven't done enough of my own research to have an opinion on it.
Okay. Someone else asked, what websites and stuff are banned for Jehovah's Witnesses? I know things like Reddit aren't meant to be used, but what other things, like other social media and stuff, such as Facebook and Twitter? And what about things like Tumblr?
Yeah, I don't think that the only websites that are straight up banned by Jehovah's Witnesses are apostate material. So jwfacts.com is banned, but they don't actually list the website because they don't want anybody going to it out of curiosity. So they'll just say any apostate material, any criticisms of Jehovah's Witnesses are banned. But they heavily discourage internet use in general. Most Jehovah's Witnesses have social media accounts like Facebooks and Twitter and things like that, but they are watched by the elders and by other Jehovah's Witnesses for things that could be questionable. And if you post something that might be just a little bit political or anything, you can expect a call from the elders. So.
Okay. And is using banned sites a shunning thing, or could you make the case you were using them to spread the word as a way of avoiding punishment?
No, you definitely can't use that excuse. If you were there at all, they will at least reprove you. That's basically where you can't answer at the meetings. You can't carry microphones. That's quote unquote a privilege. My brother got reproved when he was young, when he was probably 14 or 15 for, well, maybe 16, for just getting like highlights in his hair. It wasn't like bad. It looked fine. It wasn't trashy. It wasn't terrible. They just, yeah, it was rebellious, I guess. It was a rebellious look and a rebellious attitude. So they reproved him. And, yeah, he couldn't do any of that stuff. So if you get caught doing that, you'll probably get reproved. And if you get caught doing it again while you're on reproof, they will disfellowship you. If it goes far enough, if you just keep doing it, then they'll disfellowship you and shun you for it.
All right. And what, for those that haven't heard before, what's your opinion on Scientology?
Oh, yeah, Scientology. Honestly, I think it's a little bit more destructive than Jehovah's Witnesses. They're more vicious, and they go for the throat more. Jehovah's Witnesses are bigger. Like, the religion has more people in it, so in that sense, I think they're more harmful, Jehovah's Witnesses are. But Scientology, if it were as big as Jehovah's Witnesses, it would be the most destructive religion, I think. Let me look here. Hang on. Scientology. The problem is it's really hard to get numbers on it because they claim that, I don't know, like 50 million people are Scientologists, which is an absolutely ridiculous number. Jehovah's Witnesses, there are 7.6 million. There are 14 million Mormons, 250,000 Quakers roughly. And these guys are saying they have like 50 million members. It's a complete joke, but yeah, I think the numbers... Okay, yeah, here we go. See, it says right here. 25,000 Scientologists in this country of 300 million human beings. So, anyway, they're destructive. That's my thought on it.
Okay. And do you know about their work camps in California?
About Scientology's work camps?
Yeah.
I do. It's really bad. I actually know Chris Shelton, who... I don't know if you guys have seen... So, oh God, there's a little... All right, so Leah Remini, she was on the TV show King of Queens, right? She was she was, what's his name? Kevin James or something? She was his wife in the show King of Queens. Leah Remini was. So Leah Remini ends up, she's in Scientology, and she ends up leaving Scientology probably, 3 or 4 years ago. Starts a TV show called, let me find it. Yeah, it's called Scientology in the Aftermath. That's what it's called. Well, Chris Shelton is a YouTuber like me, and he was on this show. He's a really good guy, and yeah, I've done a collaboration with him. It's on my channel. You guys could take a look at that. I ask him all kinds of questions about it. So anyway.
Okie dokie. And next question is, do you think that Flat Earth is a cult of some kind? Like the Flat Earthers?
No. And the reason I think it's not a cult is because there isn't a hierarchical structure to it. So there isn't a group of people enforcing these beliefs or social consequences for not believing them. So you don't have somebody at the top who's holding your family hostage if you don't believe it, like you do with Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a cult-like mindset, for sure. People buy it hook, line, and sinker. And and it does reinforce a cult-like attitude and behavior, but there's no structure behind it to force people into subservience. So, also, I am going to speak with Juanez before I forget. I just want to talk to him one more time here. Hang on. You there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, so did you happen to remember where we were?
Indeed, I have.
Okay.
But as I was saying, it's very, very complicated over here because it's not just, I don't even know if this is really it's really, really crazy. Just forget about it. I can't describe it. I can't.
So you're saying you can't really describe like what it's like there, but you're saying it's not really, it's not the way that people view it. Is that a fair assessment, or?
Well, yeah, actually.
Okay. So you don't think it's as extreme?
No, and even though we do have surprisingly Jehovah's Witnesses that I actually didn't expect here, it's not really that common around here, to be honest. Like, I myself have had absolutely no experiences with Jehovah's Witnesses during my entire life, which is the entire time that I've been living here. So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know how many there are in Central America. Maybe I can find out.
It's actually in South America, actually.
Oh, it's in South America. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Just looking it up here. Tap, tap, tap. Jehovah's Witnesses by country. Yeah, I don't have South America, but I have country. So I'll go with like the biggest country in South America. Let's see. Okay, Argentina. Here, this is a good one. Their population's 44 million, and they have 150,000 publishers. So 150,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, basically, in a country of 44 million. So, yeah, that's actually really small, considering. Wow. So you don't think, like, religion is, like, super out of hand in your area, right? Not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but religion in general? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's actually... There's actually very little, like... There's actually very little people in my country where they're like 100% stuck to to their religion and that they believe it and don't want to trust anybody else.
Right.
It's a lot like that.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to do a little more research on that. I didn't realize that South America was like that. But yeah, maybe I'll do a video on that at some point about the religious levels in different continents and countries. That would be pretty interesting, I think. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before I move on?
No, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, that is really interesting. I didn't even know that this list existed. Take a look at this. Of course, it's Wikipedia, so you can't trust it unquestioningly or anything, but usually they have sources for this stuff, and I'll commonly use Wikipedia as a jumping off point. Like, typically they have, well, I don't see any sources on this one, but here are some footnotes. Anyway, usually they have sources, and here you go. Note 7. You usually click it and then open the page that, usually it's actual real research papers, and that's what I'll do. I'll go into it, but anyway, take a look at this. This is Germany has 165,000 Jehovah's Witnesses. From what I understand, a lot of European countries have actually been losing Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot of European countries and congregations are net losing people, so we're winning the fight here. It's inevitable with the internet, it's just a matter of time before they go under. But Okay, let's see. There was I wanted to get to maybe one more person if I could before I get off of here. By the way, Infinity, how many questions do I have left?
I have 3 of them, and Null is here.
Oh, no. Okay, perfect. Let me see. No. He would be in the ends. There he is. I'll talk to him. Hey, you there? No? No? Okay. I'll come back to him in a second. Do you want to ask me those questions?
Sure. Do you know anything about Shakers, and are they a cult?
Shakers. No, I don't think I've ever heard of that, actually, interestingly enough. And I almost never, unless I've done heavy research into something, I basically never make a determination about them being a cult or not. I recently started doing this whole thing where, hang on, I'm trying to find it. Okay. You guys have seen this like a billion times probably, this bite model thing. But this came from Stephen Hassan's book called Combating Cult Mind Control, I think. And, they're basically just things to watch out for when you are in a religion to see if it's a cult or not. And, I think it's a really, really nice list to go by. So I'm going to start scoring people based on this. Scoring cults or religions based on this list. So, anyway. I may get to them eventually. Maybe I'll give them a score. So, next question.
Okay. What are your thoughts or opinions on the God's Not Dead franchise?
Interestingly enough, I took Alpha Force Zero to see God's Not Dead 2 in theaters. And it was interesting. I looked at it from the point of view of my grandmother, because she's super religious, but she's really, really sweet, and she's not conservative, put it that way. She's not a conservative Christian. She's just a normal Christian. And so when I went into that movie, God's Not Dead 2, I started to really see the things that would just bother her about it, because her neighbor is Republican, and she was like, "Oh, it's such a good movie, you gotta see it, it's so good." And so I went in and I was like, well, I'll give her some tips about the movie, like, should she see it, should she not, is it any good? She would hate that movie, even being religious. It's a mix of Christian propaganda and Republican propaganda. It's just insane. I think it's a dying breed's last shot at pulling people in. That's what I think of that franchise.
Okay, and have you seen the documentary Holy Hell?
I have not. Although there are some documentaries that I want to watch and some that I want to shout out. One of which is Jesus Camp. I haven't seen the one that Holy Hell. I haven't seen that one. I'm gonna give it a watch.
They recommended it because it is about a cult.
Right. I'll give it a watch, and I'm gonna make like a comprehensive list of documentaries that I would suggest to people. I think that would be useful. Is that all the questions?
Okay, and the last question is, how do you deal with losing faith?
How do you deal with losing faith? As far as just the fact that you're losing your faith, I didn't have any trouble dealing with that. I mean, the hard part came with everything that comes with losing your faith, like losing eternal life or the thought that you were going to have eternal life. But along with losing that comes the idea that you don't have to worry about going to hell anymore. You don't have to stress out about that anymore. So there are good parts and there are bad parts. I would focus on the good and do your best to build a community of people around you, a social network that's outside the church, outside of religion, just in case you have to deal with social consequences from it, because that's pretty common. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion with it.
Okay, and Nell says that they've fixed their mic.
Okay, unmuting.
Like the last person to talk to.
Hey, you there? No? You're muted. Here, let me... Nope. Yeah, you're muted on your end. 100... Oh,
Okay, I
go.
figured it out. Did I get it? Did I get it?
You did. You
Finally,
did get
okay.
it.
First, I had Discord open in the browser and forgot to enable that I opened desktop. And
That's rough. Well, at least you got it fixed, right?
oh well, I'm here. Finally.
Right. So we haven't talked on the podcast, have we?
We haven't really talked.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit there, by the way. I missed that. What was that?
No, we haven't really done.
Okay, I hope we can make it through, because I'm having a rough time making it out, but we'll give it a shot. So what religion were you originally? Are you still religious, or?
I was not
I didn't make out any of that, unfortunately. Sadness. Overwhelming sadness.
I was Orthodox, but now monastic Luciferian.
Oh, okay. So you were Orthodox, but now you are what? Can you say it one more time? I think I made it out. I just want to be sure.
Luciferian.
Okay, interesting. Luciferian. So what does that entail exactly?
Mostly it depends person to person, very much so. But
Right.
I'm closing all my Google Chrome, so I hope that helps. But
You're
mostly
breaking up again. I'm sorry. Man,
for me,
I wish
for
I
me
could-
mostly it's focused on fruit and Bali, and wow, that sounded really American, but
Sadness.
the
I can't
first
understand
part-
anything. This is so sad. I wish that I wish I could understand. I'll tell you what, no. Since I can't understand you, I am putting you at the top of the list right now. You're at the very top. And the very next person that I speak with will be you. In fact, I may actually get in a regular voice chat outside of the podcast and just chit-chat with you for a minute, because I'm very disappointed that we couldn't talk. But anyway, we'll get it. We'll get it together, and we will talk again. I'm sorry. Anyway, actually, that's the end of the podcast. You don't have any more questions? Is that the end of the questions, too? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, there are no other questions.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate it.